All right, next game that we got is a massive one, and actually where College Game Day will be going this week. Number 15, Missouri at number 10, Vanderbilt, 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time on ESPN. The winner of this game is set up very nicely for a potential college football playoff run, while the loser of this game pretty much has to run the table to make the college football playoff. So both Vanderbilt and Missouri are ranked in the top 15 right now. They both are 6-1 to start their seasons. This Saturday's game will be critical in determining whether or not either of these two programs can make the college football playoff. The Commodores still have number 22 Texas, Auburn, Kentucky, and number 17 Tennessee left on their schedule. Meanwhile, Missouri has number 3 Texas A&M, Mississippi State, number 13 Oklahoma, and Arkansas. So the winner of this game can lose one of those remaining games and still feel good about their chances of getting into the playoff. The loser of this game has to win out in order to make the college football playoff. And like I said before, both teams still have 2 more ranked teams left in their schedules.
Oh, no, this is a massive tipping point game because, look, obviously spotlight is on Texas and Death Valley, LSU, A&M, and Ole Miss, Oklahoma. This is just the biggest game as any of those. What it does to set up the winner of this game for a playoff run, I think that's the biggest story. And, look, I'll be honest, you mentioned Vandy's schedule as well. With what the two teams have looked like, are we really going to sit here and think they can't go down to Texas and win?
Yep.
They can absolutely do that. Can they beat Tennessee? Yeah, I think they could get in a big shootout with Tennessee. You know, and Auburn can't really score. Kentucky can't really score. I mean, you look at them. You look at Missouri, and they're trying to keep the momentum going. A big double overtime win over Auburn last week, escaping there with a win.
They can beat Oklahoma.
Absolutely. I mean, we saw how Missouri played Alabama. We saw both these teams played Alabama.
Yeah.
They looked fine. It was just a couple of mistakes for both of them, especially with regard to turnovers. So this is a huge tipping point game for both of these teams. They both got momentum coming into this game. Vandy with the big win over LSU as well. I think this really sets the course for both of these teams the rest of the way, and that's why, again, this feels like the entire week in the SEC. It's really, I think, the biggest theme of the week is this is tipping point week in the SEC with certain teams. Yeah. Definitely these two teams, whoever comes out of this still with only one loss is at a huge advantage as far as the playoff race.
Like I mentioned before, we only have 3 ranked games between, 3 games between ranked teams this week, all 3 in the SEC, and one of them is right here, Missouri and Vanderbilt. Dalton, you have the Missouri offense, and obviously they run the ball a lot with Ahmad Hardy, maybe the best running back in college football. What should we know when the Tigers have the ball in this game?
I think the key for Missouri this week and really any week, and they escaped last week arguably as the less physical team between the two of them, them and Auburn. The key is to be the more physical team and dominate in the trenches, offensive line and defensive line. I'll look at the offensive side. Lately, since they started SEC play, the 3 SEC games against South Carolina, Alabama, and Auburn, they haven't necessarily been the dominant physical team up front that we saw in the first few weeks of the season. Obviously, it's early season. The opponents aren't as great. They played Kansas. They beat Kansas, but Kansas doesn't have a great front seven, a little bit smaller and more athletic there. Missouri needs to dominate the trenches in this game. I don't think, again, that they want to turn this into the Bo Prabula versus Diego Pavia shootout. I think that's the one spot we would both agree that Vandy has the quarterback advantage in this game with the way Prabula has played of late. Made enough throws and enough plays last week to escape Auburn with a win, but the passing side, especially in the drop-back game, has not been great. But when you look at Missouri since week 4, they're 73rd in pass blocking grade, they're 84th in run blocking grade, and 80th in yards before contact per carry. This has become more and more in the passing weeks into SEC play about Ahmad Hardy and Jamal Roberts breaking tackles and not getting the best blocking in the world. Is it awful? No, but those two numbers are pretty close to average when they started the first 3 games of the season as an elite blocking unit against, yes, lesser competition. So I think this is a big test on both sides. Look, Vanderbilt also, it's a unique challenge because they didn't play a team with, to me, a good offensive line in LSU last week, right? Vanderbilt was the more physical team last week. Are they going to be able to match that again on defense? The run defense has been very good. They're a fast unit that rallies to the football. It's just a matter of, is Missouri going to be able early in the game? They did it for the first drive against Alabama, and it kind of stalled. Last week against Auburn, they had 38 design carries. go for 81 yards. And Auburn's an elite run defense, no question, best part of their team. They won't do that. Vandy won't do that to them, because if they only run for 81 design yards on Vanderbilt, they're going to lose by 30. I'll tell you that right now. But this is the thing. Missouri's got to be the more physical team on both sides of the ball. They need their offensive line to play just a little bit better than they've played in recent weeks to get out of here with a win.
Yeah, I have the Vanderbilt offense, and I'm looking at whether or not Diego Pavia can continue to be magical under pressure this year. Vanderbilt's run over the last 2 years has been nothing short of magical, and Diego Pavia is the wizard behind that magical run right now. 89.6 PFF grade this year, is tied for 4th among all quarterbacks in the country. He has a 68 grade under pressure. That's 10th among all quarterbacks in the nation right now. 5 big-time throws under pressure, 5th in the country. I mean, you saw this past weekend against LSU. Some of the plays he was making under pressure were incredible. It was like Johnny Manziel-esque. And I know Johnny Manziel is kind of mentoring Diego Pavia right now. It was Manziel-esque what we saw this past weekend. A flair for the dramatics for Diego Pavia overall in his game, in his life, and also under pressure as well. That could be pivotal in this game, because you saw on that graphic right there, Missouri has the 3rd best pressure rate in college football this year at 43%. Their edge rushers, Zion Young and Damon Wilson, are 2nd and 3rd in the SEC this year in pressures. Only Cassius Howell from Texas A&M has more pressures than the duo that Missouri has at edge rusher right now in Zion Young and Damon Wilson. Those two could be a major issue for a Vanderbilt offensive line that is right now 104th in the country in team pass blocking grade this year. And specifically, the offensive tackles for Vanderbilt have struggled this year. Isaiah Glass is 175th in pass blocking grade this year, while Bryce Henderson is 303rd in the country in pass blocking grade this year. Now, it is worth pointing out, though, Vanderbilt is coming off an 83.8 pass blocking grade against LSU, which is their best against a Power 4 opponent since we began charting college football in 2014. So their offensive line was outstanding against a pretty solid pass rush from LSU, but Missouri's has been one of the best in the country right now. And if Vanderbilt regresses to what they've been all year, Diego Pavia may need to produce more sorcery under pressure in this game.
The luxury of having Pavia is that ability, A, just the fearless ability to make plays at all times, but B, cool under pressure, right? So, I mean, even if you're giving that up, and Pavia's been under pressure about a third of the time this year, not too bad, but even then, against the blitz, if Missouri wants to bring extra pressure and confuse that offensive line, it didn't work last week for LSU, and he's got a 91 PFF grade against the blitz this season. I'm looking at it now. That's the 5th best mark in the country. So the fact that he is that extra X factor with his legs, who can turn any play that looks real bad right up front and turn it into a major positive play, an explosive, a big run for a touchdown, a one-on-one throw downfield. He kind of neutralizes that a bit. That's why it's so great to have a quarterback with dual threat abilities like that. But I think you're absolutely right. I think 3 guys I'm looking at on Missouri's defense, because I talk about against an offense like Vandy's second-level defenders a lot. Josiah Trotter, their middle linebacker, you have to stop Vandy running between the tackles or they're going to hurt you. They're the best team in the country, the most efficient team in the country, I should say, at running between the tackles. Why? Because of their schemes and because they confuse linebackers so much in there. Josiah Trotter's got to have a big day, and then 2 guys back there at safety we talk about a lot with this team. Dalen Carnell, Jalen Catalon, second-level defenders who have to make open field tackles, and I think those 2 guys are going to be dealing with Eli Stowers and Cole Spence, the 2 tight ends, a lot. I really like the way that Cole Spence has emerged as a second threat at tight end for this Vanderbilt team. So there's a lot to deal with, and your second-level defenders really have to be on it if you're Missouri.
And with those tight ends that Vanderbilt has, too, they've been outstanding this
Dangerous.
year. Those middle of the field's going to be huge for them. I will say, you mentioned how good Pavia is against the blitz. Missouri, even though they're 3rd in pressure rate this year, they're 105th in blitz rate. They know those 4 that they have in that defensive line, and Zion Young and Damon Wilson leading it, they don't need to send 5 or more rushers. They have those 4. They can get home with those 4. They don't need anything else. Kind of like Miami a little bit. It's like Miami's like, dude, we know you can't block our 4. We don't need to send a blitz at you because we know. So Pavia's going to have to make some magical plays happen with only 4 rushers coming at him and also 7 guys back there in coverage too. So it's going to be fascinating to watch how Pavia handles this Missouri defense. Has been so awesome all year for the Tigers. All right, Dalton, in one of the biggest games of the weekend where College Game Day is going right now in a matchup between two top 15 teams. Who do you got between Missouri and Vanderbilt?
I think these are two very even teams. I think two teams that have potentially explosive offenses, especially when it comes to the ground game. These are two of the best rushing teams in the country. But I think the difference for me is that you have Diego Pavia on one side and you have Bo Prabula on the other. And if I'm asking one of them to get in the drop back game on half dozen times here in this game on 3rd and 8, maybe the run game didn't work on early downs or something like that, I trust Pavia more, and I like this depth of receiving options. You've got Stowers. You've got Cole Spence now as a second tight end emerging. Junior Sherrill, Trey Richardson. They can use the backs. They got multiple backs they can use. Cedric Alexander. MK Young was really good last week, right? I mean, they've just got this depth of playmakers where I feel like in Missouri's passing game, you get the occasional play out of Brett Norfleet, but for the most part, Kevin Coleman, Marquise Johnson, and then it's really about Bo Prabula having to make a few big throws. So I trust the tiebreaker for me is the quarterback, along with obviously the home field advantage. But I think Pavia makes enough plays against a Missouri defense that, unlike Blake Baker's and LSU last week, this Missouri defense is pretty easy to read. It's a lot of single high. It's a lot of 4-man rush. They just want to be more physical. He's going to see a ton of cover 3. I do expect Vandy to try to attack the seams in that cover 3 defense with those tight ends. I got Vandy 34-31. I think we get a high-scoring game because Missouri's physicality is a different challenge, I think, more so than the LSU game last week. But I like Vandy's ability to score points. I like Diego Pavia.
I have Missouri winning this game. I have a 28-27 Missouri on top. I think the Tigers, with their 4-man rush, will be able to get consistent pressure on Diego Pavia. I think Missouri's D-line might win the day, honestly. And I think the Commodores will struggle to contain Missouri's rushing attack enough in this game. I think Ahmad Hardy will have a big game for Missouri and not force Bo Prabula to win this game as a drop-back passer. It's going to be going down the wire, but I do think Missouri will pull off a close road win over Vanderbilt in a massive game for Missouri's playoff hopes this year. I have a 28-27 Missouri over Vanderbilt. All right,